Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next session. We are going to be focusing today on water parks, and more importantly, how do you get people to stay and play and spend, which is also very important, but also have a great time. I'd like to start off right now by introducing each of our panelists. I'm going to go one by one. If you could just stand up, give us like a 1 minute introduction about yourself and how you got into the industry, basically. Okay, 1 minute's hard, but you know, the snapshot version. Mike, if you could, Mike Rigby, please, from Whitewater.
I'll even stand up for that. So Mike Rigby, General Manager of Whitewater for the Middle East. Our business is designing and when we can, building some of these water parks for our fantastic clients. How I got into this industry? Complete and utter random. I once saw a job on LinkedIn saying, do you want to travel the world selling water parks? Looked at the guy next to me, said, that sounds fun. Click. And here we are 10 years later. So that's the background. So you can start anywhere.
Great, that's fantastic. Olivia, would you mind just giving us a little background?
It's me again. I feel like I have to say that after the last session.
Stand up.
Wait, who are you?
We've all spent way too much time together up here, so I feel like we're more of a comedy trio than anything. My name is Olivia Warwick. I am the Senior Director of Aqua Arabia, water theme park here in Saudi Arabia. I started my career 25 years ago as a lifeguard. I stuck with it. I've worked for companies such as Palace Entertainment, Great Wolf Lodge, Atlantis The Palm, and just here now getting ready to open up the Kingdom's first kind of large-scale water park and the world's largest water theme park.
Oh, that sounds like fighting words. Sasha, you're up.
There are no fights. My name is Sasha, so I'm the Vice President of Marine Water Park in Atlantis, Dubai. I actually started out probably 26 years ago as a chef. Worked my way all up, different part of the region, Germany, Italy, UK, and then obviously ended up in Malaysia and then ended up in Dubai. And then took over the food and beverage department in 17. And then in 2020, I got the opportunity to be part of the expansion for Atlantis Aquaventure, which was very exciting, and been since in the leisure entertainment industry. Obviously, through the food and beverage industry, being also kind of exposed to the leisure entertainment the first time with the putting up concepts like the Wave House, so that was quite interesting. So that got me kind of excited to put my feet in this side. So that's me.
So you get your feet in the water.
Yeah, that's it.
Our role is to make sure there's a bigger park than both of their parks. So if anyone's interested, we'll build one bigger than them both.
I'm sure there's somebody out there. Don't worry, Mike. Okay, kids, calm down. This is serious.
We get really excited about water parks.
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is that water is fun. But we do need to think about, let's be serious for a little bit and have a conversation, please. Let's talk about the state of the market. Because the truth of the matter is, Saudi is just now developing, but the broader region has already developed a lot. So the key thing is, what do you think are the primary, I'm going to take that away from you, Mike. Olivia, what do you think are the USPs of Saudi Arabia, the kingdom, versus the other places that you've worked? Do you see any key differences or key benefits?
I think for us, it is a new experience that we're bringing here. There are already two well-established water parks here in Saudi Arabia. They both have their own uniqueness to them. One being a ladies-only water park, Lupaguna, that has that characteristic and that uniqueness to it. Cyan Water Park, it's on the coast. It's a great size water park. It's got diverse portfolio of rides, and I think because the water park industry is still kind of new and it's a niche operation and experience here. I think that it's definitely creating a lot of buzz and a lot of talk. And I know that, for Aqua Arabia, one of the things that we're doing that's unique is going to be, we've taken the traditional water park.
Wait, you're jumping ahead.
Okay, sorry, pause.
We'll get to that later. Sasha, looking at it from the more developed market in Dubai, what would you say are things or lessons learned that you could take from the UAE and apply here to the Saudi market in terms of anyone that's thinking about building a water park or has one that's existing and improving it?
Yeah, I think the opportunities what Saudi will have here is to learn from, I guess, mistakes or fine-tune things which don't necessarily work, things which were built in Dubai or somewhere else in the world. Is it like it could be as simple as a guest journey, because how things were created that you quickly realize what things are working and what things don't work. As well as certain rights, I guess, when you know certain rights will work. But what I do think probably you have to put in consideration what markets you want to attract. I think you have to first know, okay, are we attracting the same markets in Dubai? What you would try to attract here? Is it more the domestic local market versus, the Europeans, or what market you want to attract? But I think the biggest lesson learned, I think it's really when you design big spaces, what would your guest flow look like in order to, I guess, have this frictionless journey and guest moves. I think that's the most important thing when you build big spaces, because that's what we in the end talk about. If you develop a park, it's always big spaces. So how would the flow work when it comes to the guest journey?
So really, it's about the guest journey and thinking it through beforehand instead of trying to pigeonhole it in afterwards.
Yeah.
Mike, you clearly have worked all over the region. What do you think are the really unique factors here in the kingdom? Or is it pretty much the same?
The similarities and differences over the last 15, 20 years, we've seen this whole market evolving. So starting from Wild Wadi and then moving on to Atlantis and Yaz. And the current offering is fantastic. Atlantis is still one of, if not the best water parks in the world. And we're then coming here, the Qatar project that recently opened is groundbreaking. And they're now moving to Saudi Arabia. I think one of the big differences is short term is Saudi Arabia has a large local population. When we look at Dubai over time, when Jumeirah first started, we were talking a few 100,000 people. Mm-hmm. And it really has had to cater for that, the expat market and also the international tourist. Whereas Saudi Arabia is, right now, it's going to target people here. There's a lot of people in the kingdom. We've seen the success of Riyadh Boulevard. I think 8 million people, I think it did in the first year. And that's showing that there is a demand. Even the parks that Olivia mentioned, they're already here. People want entertainment. So I think it's going to be that interesting balance that they can't just, Atlantis will still look for that international tourist and the local people and the expats. Whereas here in the kingdom, we're going to be looking, how do we cater for the 35, 40 million people? Mm-hmm. Tourism is obviously a key driver, so that's going to come as phase 2.
Yeah, I'm going to put my economist hat on for a second and say I think personally the biggest opportunity here in the kingdom is that there is that population. And so you have the opportunity for different scales of water parks. You can have your big mega parks like Aqua Arabia, but then you also can have smaller scale water parks for smaller communities, so everybody has access to it.
But that's what we're going to see in all the markets.
Yeah.
There's the trailblazers in the UAE. The big parks were started, and it is now moving into the smaller projects for the communities, for the residents, or the resorts. So I think we'll see exactly the same here, a different offering for all sorts of demographics and groups.
Yep. Sorry, one note to all the speakers, please, when you're talking, put it as close as possible. If you move your head, it doesn't work. Sorry, Mike. Okay, so one thing that we've seen a lot of is the integration, as we've seen already in Dubai, of water parks into, water parks with resorts and resorts into water parks and the overnight accommodation. In your opinion, and I'd like to hear all three, can that guest experience truly be seamless, or will there always be a division between the water park and the hotel? I'll start with Sasha, please.
No, I think it can definitely be seamless, and like you said earlier, I think a lot of, and it's adapted more and more, right? Because it makes it very unique from a tourist perspective, because you obviously have now more things to sell. You fill your rooms easier because obviously guests are looking for value when they're choosing a destination where they can stay in. From an operator perspective, there are obviously two different journeys you have to consider when, like the guest journey from a hotel guest point of view, and how do you how do you accomplish it to make it very seamless? Like how do you, and then also how do you get the data? How many times they're visiting the park? So that's probably one challenge. And then how do you get your day guests then who just rocking up? But then also how do you, how is the journey with guests who buying online as well, right? So there's a few things to consider, but yeah, 100% that both journeys can be seamless. It just need to be, I guess, well thought out. And I guess what most are doing, it is with wristbands in hotels. Either they get it on check-in, and then obviously you collect the data and then make sure how they come into the park. And from a day guest perspective, it really comes down to, again, I guess it comes down to frictionless journey. How do you make sure guests that come in super quick? I mean, when we originally had the phase 3 adding, like when we added on phase 3, we obviously saw a huge surge in guests and day guests, right? So that obviously provided a challenge, because all of a sudden the park was built as an amenity originally, and now we saw the huge demand, right? So we had to quickly change a few things in order to get people quicker into the park, right? So yeah, but I think frictionless journey you can definitely get on both of them.
Theoretically, it can be done.
Yeah.
Olivia or Mike, any thoughts on that?
I mean, you know, with Qiddiya City, we're obviously going to have hotels and stuff. With Aqua Arabia being an independent, standalone water park, so it's definitely going to be a journey that we spend some time on to make sure we get it right. Even though we're not physically connected, those partnerships will be there. And you know, I think one of the benefits for us and anyone that comes after us is being able to have the conversations with people like Sasha and, you know, the teams at Yas Island, and what worked for you and what didn't work for you, and learning. And, you know, I think our industries were really fortunate to be able to have those transparent conversations, and in turn it makes all of us better in the long run as we advance.
I mean, I think when you look at, you know, existing sort of water park hotels, for example, like the Center Parcs in Europe, or Great Wolf in the US, Kalahari, what you do see is that typically a water park visit will be, you know, if as a day visitor, a water park visit will be, you know, 6 to 7 hours. As an overnight guest that has direct access, a lot of time the length of stay is shortened to like 3 or 4 hours, because they know they can go every day. So they're actually spending less time in the park. And I guess that kind of brings us to our big conversation of how do you like get people to stay longer. But before we go there, Mike, did you want to say anything about the seamlessness?
I'm just glad I'm not an operator. The headaches for these guys, and especially when you look at the different types of projects, because when we look at an Atlantis and possibly Qiddiya, the day guest is just as important as the hotel guest. So they have these two very distinct.
The day guests make you the money.
For you, the hotels probably disagree with you, right? But so it is that where you're trying to cater to both, and the trend is changing in some areas where they only care about the hotel guest and the day guests are secondary. So some of the more recent projects that are popping up, it really is for the hotel guest, and they accept the day guest. So I think that's very different, because they can come in and out, exactly what you mentioned about the Center Parcs model, whereas poor Sasha and poor Olivia in the future, how to balance that, I don't know how you do it.
I'll say from my days at Great Wolf Lodge, and it's been 15 years, but you know, I think one of the cool selling points there was that exclusivity, that you only got to use the water park if you stayed there. And yeah, you know, the length of stay in the water park might have only been a few hours, and Great Wolf Lodge did a fantastic job in incorporating so much more into their resort. But that exclusivity and knowing that I could go to the water park on a Saturday and it wasn't going to be 7,000 people. You know, you kind of already know it's not going to be a long wait in line. I can enjoy it. There'll be a sunbed. So I think that's kind of the upside that these exclusivity with your water park in a hotel has.
And in some cases, that can just be earlier access. You're just allowed in an hour or 2 hours before the day visitor as well. But
can I ask them a question on that?
Okay, but I got a specific question for you.
No, and it's for them, because, you know, hopefully other people are interested. But how do you deal with it then? Because when you go into a park where you have a day guest, you know you're dedicating the whole day to the water park. How does that come compared to when you're in a resort where people can come in and out, where maybe the kid wants to go in, the parents don't want to come in? Does that cause challenges?
No, it's not. I mean, I don't think it causes challenges. It's more what we are seeing is the expectation of hotel guests are a little bit different than a day guest would have, right? So when you realize we got questionnaires from the hotel side versus then obviously questionnaires from a day guest side, and it seems like hotel guests are more challenging because they have kind of the expectation, the right that they can obviously use the park to their own, which is fair because obviously they pay for the product, and that becomes challenging when it's obviously super busy. So it's important to try to open the park earlier to kind of communicate that. I think communication is super important, that they are knowing that the park is either open earlier, so you get them in quick, and then kind of they will kind of know, okay, during peak hours they will leave and come back a little bit later. So from that perspective, I don't think it's very challenging. And for us now, we created with the Royal Atlantis, we have now 2 entrances to the hotel. Then it's more, I guess, a staff-related issue that you make sure people are there to obviously control, so when they come in and out. But I don't necessarily see it. It's more the challenges and expectations, I would say. You have to kind of overcome and make sure you meet those expectations.
Okay, so here's a tough one for you now, Mike, because you stepped in. No, I want to talk about that whole integration of resorts with water parks for one more thing. As the leading manufacturer of water slides, when are we going to get that water slide that goes directly from the hotel room down into the lazy river, so you have that really truly unique access?
How'd you get back?
You can go back up to the lobby.
We'd love those ideas. We'd recommend it, but I think the challenge comes from the operations perspective. I remember once working on a project where it was a residential project, and that's what they wanted: individual slides from the residences going into the water park. But and I think when you look at the
that's what the lazy river is for, though, because if you have the
go
slides,
uphill.
the lazy river goes all the way down, and then you just get back up at your spot, and you take the elevator back up.
Okay, I then think we should ask Sasha why they don't have it.
Anyway, I digress. I do want to get on to the main topic now, because we've talked a little bit about the shape of the industry and how things have moved till now. But the key thing that's really impacting things is technology. And the truth of the matter is, technology that we've seen, such as virtual queuing, instant RFID bands, et cetera, that makes it a lot easier for the guests, and it improves their guest experience, but it also means the old days of just sitting there in a queue with the inner tube under your arm are gone. So we need to start thinking about new ways to get that guest to stay longer and to enjoy their experience, so that they actually spend the same amount of time in the park that they did before. So I'm going to throw that out to Olivia, actually, because I know she's busting to say a little bit about what they're going to do at Aqua Arabia. So go ahead.
From a technology point of view or everything?
Both.
Technology, I'm not going to give away our secrets just yet. But I will tell you this, it's interesting because Saudi is a very tech-driven on the phone, in the app in my hand, go, go, go. But water parks are new. So how do you mix those two? Keep it simple enough that in the water park world it works, but keep it sexy enough that everyone wants to use it. So to be continued. I will say this though, recent Cyan Water Park, the locker system there, talk about simplicity. And it made me remember, it's literally red light, green light. If it's red, you don't use it. If it's green, you tag it, it's yours. And it just reminded me that sometimes the simplicity of technology is the way to go, that you don't necessarily need to overdo it. So yeah, from a technology standpoint, to be continued.
Okay, Sasha, as an operator of an existing water park versus one that's still going to learn its own mistakes and fix them. From your side, what kind of technology are you using to improve the guest experiences? And honestly, what are the pluses and minuses of it, in your opinion?
We started implementing what we call our Aqua Band, which is a Bluetooth-enabled RFID band. So that really, and we started about 3 years ago, and that was a journey which was quite long, and obviously we throughout the process we discovered a few things we thought will work, and then while kind of coming to a close, especially when it comes from the hotel, that comes back to hotel guest journey versus day guest journey, because how do you control, how do you know how many people are in park, and how do you control this technology? And throughout the process we realized you need to make sure you have the right skill set in IT to obviously deal with that, and then obviously also with our partner to kind of then go through the process and say, the idea what we had originally works, but then what we thought will work didn't really materialize, so then we had to change. So that kind of delayed the project a little bit. But then once once we kind of were happy, so we started with hotel guests first, and then with stay guests, and we really had 3 objectives, right? So one objective was the frictionless journey, to really make sure we get them quickly into the park. And then they obviously can use the wristband, by linking it to your credit card, a little bit like a theme park, a bit like a Disney band. That was the vision, and then also monetize on it, and then also have some operational efficiencies along the ways as well. So at the moment we're ticking 2 boxes, which is the operational efficiencies and the guest journey, because if what we are needing or wanting to do is to get more people onto online bookings, because if they are having all the like lockers, fast pass, like all the entitlements already, if they purchase them already online, they can have them directly onto the band, so they just need to go and redeem them if needed, like a meal deal or like a locker. They can go straight away and they don't have to queue anywhere else in the park. So that kind of we really mastered, and we see there's no lesser queues on our guest service huts, or people just go straight in and they get their band, and it's a fairly frictionless journey. There's always things to it which can be fine-tuned. I guess from a monetization perspective, so we did develop our app. That's something you have to really develop, or you have to educate, I guess, our guests. But then also you have to make sure, for example, in an app, there's so many apps. Like what makes you want you to download the app and link a credit card? It needs to be like technology for me. What I learned, it needs to be really, really quick, seamless, easy, simple. It should not be taking too long, right? So in order to make them download the app, there needs to be enough in the app which wants you to make the download. Is it through gamification, or you can look at your pictures while you ride, and then obviously purchase them through it. So this is something where we kind of working. That's kind of the next step. So we kind of wanting a Ferrari, we kind of halfway through, but I think this is a process when it comes to technology, and especially I think technology in water parks. And then obviously the main reason doing it is also getting all the data, and then obviously using that data for the right things.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question, is clearly if you do some good data mining, you can figure out things like what are higher priority, lower priority amongst your guests, start focusing and fixing the menu in regards to the more popular items, figure out how to move people around or whatever the case may be. Tech. Any thoughts, Mike?
I'm a bit of technophobe. My approach is, if it's not working, turn it off, turn it back on again. I think my personal view as a result of that is the less you notice it, but the more it helps, the better and more effective it is. I don't want to be told I'm using technology. I don't want it forced down my throat. I want my day to be easier as a result without even thinking twice about it. So when I talk about Aquaband, the idea that I can pay by just paying. I've not thought how I've got there, but all of a sudden that makes my day and my life easier. So that's when I see the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would add to that as well and say, a lot of times people focus on the tech too much and say we have to be the highest technology. It should be an enabler to improve the guest experience while they're there, and to be honest, make it easier for them to spend. And that is at the end, part of the goals. But I'd like to, in regards to other forms of technology, do either of you guys have any sort of like online social community engagement platforms trying to have water parkers from England that love Atlantis group or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's more about actually which market you want to target. So if you know your let's say UK, having the holidays, so you have, our marketing department would have strategic campaigns, right? Where I know that talking with our marketing department, where you have like a little bus going around London saying 29 or 32 degrees with a little sunbed, and they're just kind of going around, right? And driving those campaigns in different markets where obviously the season comes up to drive them into the destination. I think for us is not so much on only the park, but the full destinations, and you drive those campaigns either through different countries, or you have them through billboards, or different campaigns on social media through influencers. You get into your park, right, and drive it through there, but through web.
Yeah, I think going back to, again, our original question is like, how do we make people stay longer? So we've touched on technology a little bit that improves their experience, but it actually might shorten their their length of stay. Are there things in the design, from the design side, that can be done to extend their stay and and make people want to stay longer? Mike?
There's a lot of different thought over who is the decision maker within a park. We've always said mum's a decision maker, because if mum's happy, dad's happy because he has an easy life. He's willing to stay longer. Mum's happy because kids are happier. It was actually Royal Caribbean who tried to flip this to us, and they actually said the decision maker is a teenager, because the teenager doesn't make the decisions, but he'll make everyone else's life a misery if they don't have what they want. So they focus on that demographic. And in terms of experience in the design, it's ensuring that there is something for everyone. So it really is catering for that 2-3-year-old. Even if they're not able to enjoy fully the experience, is there an area where they can relax, where they're comfortable? And maybe it's with the nanny, maybe it's with the parents, but they're catered for. Is it somewhere where grandma, she can be in the park, she can enjoy it, and maybe she's not going on the rides, but if she's able to get that photo of her grandchildren or even her children together, then that's a good day for her. So I think it really is balancing. The rides are only a portion, and I probably shouldn't say that, but it's about the overall experience. It's making sure there's enough for the passive guests. There's making sure there's things that make it comfy. I won't mention the park, but a park once was trying to reduce the amount of shade. They said, we're reducing the amount of shade so that people are uncomfy, so they buy more drinks, and we get more secondary spend. And the mindset there for me was, it was just wrong. I'm there going, well, actually, no, because they come once, they don't come again. You need to make the guest as comfy as possible, make them feel at home, because they will come back time and time again. And I go back to shopping centres. When I was a kid, my mum used to drag me to Marks and Spencer's. I used to hate it. And I look what shopping centres have got these days: roller coasters, surf, amusement. Kids want to go. It's a family day out, and I think that's the exact attitude that in the design is, how do we create it that every single member of the family wants to be going to that location?
So I think that the key thing you're saying is this is a multi-generational attraction, so make sure you cater to multi-generations.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Olivia, you had some thoughts?
Yeah, so two things. Back in 2018, we did a mini expansion in the water park. We took a lagoon that was never really utilized, and we essentially created a mini kids water park. And for me, the game changer was putting life floor in, because what I started to notice, parents were sitting in the pool at the end of the slide, chilling, hanging out, watching the kids. They weren't sitting on the lounger, counting down the hours, when are we going? I saw more guests interact with the kids and be in those pools and sit and relax, because we had now designed and implemented a type of surface that was comfortable for them to do so, safe for the kids to run around. And I spoke to a couple of parents about it, and it was a game changer, to their point of, we can now sit here and interact more with our kids. So yeah, we're going to spend more time here. So I think it's just little things like that could ultimately, create that more length of stay.
What about you, Sasha? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think just make it as stressless as possible for the guests. So as soon as I guess the mission for every theme park is to have guests come in, forget all the worries they have in their normal life, and really so they can relax and just transport them to a different world, right? That's really the vision. For us, it's important. It starts with the landscaping. It starts with the theming. Like all those things will enhance automatically the dwell time, right? And if it is obviously all about rides. I mean, I think when we ask questions, over 60, 70, close to 80% come because of the rides. But I think if you have other little pockets within the park, if it's activations through entertainment, if it's little activations where you can entertain your guests with different things, right? Is it through little recreational activities, or is it some basketball, some volleyball, some football? If you obviously have the space, I think that automatically will enhance the dwell time, but at the same time also naturally it will enhance the dwell time. If you have, and then obviously if we want to go a bit further, you start, I guess, placing those entertainment bits at certain times, right, where you want also to have revenue at the same time.
But it's about rides, but it also, I think you'll agree, it's the family rides that are always most popular, and that's because we're looking at each other and we're enjoying it together. So it's not actually so much the ride that is so much better than that individual that you go on by yourself. It's really is that shared experience. I always look back to when I was a kid. I remember going with my parents. I don't remember going by myself somewhere. It's when I get to laugh at Sasha because he's a bit scared going down that slide, and that's what it creates.
I think that is a good point. At the end of the day, we're looking at this as a family experience. So you do need to have those activities to bring everybody together. But there also are, now again, looking at the future a little bit, what are the sort of differentiating things that you can add into your water park in terms of complementary activities, perhaps some dry rides? Yeah. I'm throwing it out there. I don't know, carousels, roller coasters. So go ahead, Olivia.
Aqua Arabia. What I believe will be the game changer for us. We've taken the traditional water park with the slides, the family blasters, the thrill rides, the aqua loops, the mat racers, and we've incorporated this entire adventure experience to it. We've got a surf lagoon that is going to be there. It's going to be, Saudi's first surf lagoon dedicated just for surfing. We've got a whole area called the Herding Grounds where we've got whitewater rafting, we've got kayaking, we've got cliff jumping, we've got canyoneering. If you don't know what canyoneering is, like I did 3 years ago when I started, Google it. But talk about a very multi-experiential levels, but very unique experiences of climbing rocks, going across zip lines, scaling walls, rappelling into water. We've got deep soloing, which it's a form of rock climbing over a pool. So we've kind of looked at what can we do that's kind of non-traditional that will help with the length of stay, because when you've got a family comes and they see all these other experiences, if you've ever been whitewater rafting, you just don't show up, get in the boat, go and get out. It's a whole experience. You get the training, you get the orientation, you meet your guide, your whitewater rafting guide that's like, are you ready? Let's go, everybody. Let's oar, and 1 and 2. You meet the surfer, you start building this connection, and then the next thing you know, little Johnny finishes his surf lesson, goes up, and is like, Mommy, I want to do it again. Mommy, let's go look at our pictures. Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. And the next thing you know, you're there until the end of the day. So from like a rides point of view, that's what we've done to kind of lengthen our stay.
So you're adding more things, still wet, but along the adventure sports line of things.
Yeah.
Clearly much lower throughput. So are they up charges, or how are you going to manage that?
AquaArabiaKadiaCity.com. Stay tuned.
Nice. Okay. No, the thing is, honestly, it is a lower throughput thing. But in my opinion, it is beneficial because we are trying to develop, adventure sports in the kingdom, and it's very much what Discovery Cove had in the early days, where people who didn't feel safe, scuba diving or snorkeling in the open water could do it in a safe environment. Here, they're starting to learn how to do it in a safe environment.
And to your point, it's almost like an introductory to people that are curious about it, but they want a little bit more knowledge and in that kind of that guaranteed environment. And it's interesting, on the last session with Abdul, who's the CEO of the Saudi Federation for Extreme Sports, we talked about what may be extreme to me is not extreme to you, and it's really about challenging yourself, what challenges you. And so, everything we've built is going to be for someone who's never even heard of it, but it's also being built and designed for competition grade. To your point, anyone can do it no matter what your skill level is or kind of your fear level.
Sasha, from your side, what are your thoughts along this?
Yeah, I guess each park or each destination will have their own USP, what they're using it for. Like, I mean, when you say Aqua Arabia, obviously you combine sports with some thrill seekers, and, like thrill actions. Like for us, Atlantis is obviously, is the park, but then also the marine life. And then what we're doing, either you have some, like a super pass, or we call it like a ticket, where you then also have an aquarium experience or some marine life experiences. You do some diving. I mean, a total of 105 experiences. So that's kind of our vision, where we're trying to drive the business and really focusing at the same time then also on educational experiences, where we're then looking at, including some back of house tours, doing some presentations. And that's kind of our vision, where we kind of want to go. And at the same time, there you disperse your guests within the park as well, right? So that's all little activations when we talk about what can be done in order to disperse, so that it makes you stay longer, but then also at the same time provide a better guest experience.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So about rides and the guest experience, but aren't there like smaller like gimmicks that can add value? For example, I don't know, I'm thinking robots that deliver to your place. Anybody doing that?
No.
Food delivery? No?
No,
To be continued.
Robot food delivery is not on the menu yet.
No, I think, I mean, that's not really gimmicks, but what we started about 2 years ago. So obviously the biggest challenge within the UAE is the weather, right? Because it gets so hot. So what we said is, because obviously a ticket is quite expensive, right? So because everything is inclusive, and he said like to add pricing, I'm kind of a little bit against it, but it depends on, I guess, what kind of model you operate. So we started giving out, because the biggest challenge was the hot feet. So people go like shade hopping. So we kind of implemented what we call aqua socks. So every guest who comes into the bar gets a free pair of socks. Obviously during the winter time, it's not as much, but during the summertime, I mean, we have 95% of the guests taking advantage and using them. I mean, at certain days you have even 120% because people guests taking it twice. And that was more like as an act of generosity, but then it also would drive repeat visitation, because I'm getting something. I think the next step, what we really want to implement, is free water within the park. Okay, that may impact, for example, the beverage or the per cap spent within the park, but at the same kind that would drive repeat behavior, right? So we would have, throughout the park, we would have water stations where guests can just go and refill their water bottles, and I think that also goes within the whole sustainability fact as well.
Oh, thank you. That was a perfect segue into my next topic, which is talking about sustainability and carbon footprint. And the truth of the matter is that, clearly it's something that we can't ignore. But I'm just wondering if, from each of your individual perspectives, what are areas that you see improvement on, or things that you have goals for in regards to your facilities or developments you're involved with, Mike?
Sustainability, especially in the kingdom, is a huge factor in this. And it can be a delicate topic, because we are talking about water, we're talking about attractions that require power, we're talking about chemicals. So I think we really need to look at how do we minimize the impact. And I do see more and more the technologies coming in are looking how to reduce as much as possible. And that can take any shape or form. It can be reducing the amount of pools you have, or reducing landing into pools rather than run-out lanes. It can be ensuring that there's VFDs across the park, that when something's not operational, it's not using water, it's not using power. So certainly in the design, I think all manufacturers will be looking at how to reduce that. And it is going to become more important. We're ensuring that there's best practices, that even in manufacturing, how do you reduce chemicals? How you reduce shipping? Can you make things more local? So I think there is going to be a play over the next few years of everyone's going to be focusing on this, and it's important.
Well, I mean, the thing is, and I just want to make a statement before I ask the two of you your thoughts on this. It's becoming clear already that the millennial generation and Generation Z are making decisions based on carbon footprint of individual businesses. As the industry becomes more competitive, highlighting to others and actually advertising it and making a benefit in terms of what your carbon footprint is and what you're trying to do to stay as carbon zero as possible is going to become more and more important. I'd just like to have your thoughts on that now.
I mean, Mike actually took mine. You know, for us in the design process, the big thing was the replacement of catch pools and going to this, you know, the run-out technology for everything. You know, with the master blasters, the technology there, that was kind of our big starting point for it all. And then, you know, once we're up and running, it's going to be a lot of like the guest education, the staff education, and what little things can we implement in the day-to-day operation that long-term will make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, same for us. I mentioned briefly with the water just now, because we launched our Atlantis Atlas project about 3 years ago. And is really committed in doing business, you know, what's good for the planet and for people. I've got, you know, I'm sure someone is laughing down there. There's Kelly, who actually initiated the project. But we have seen really over the past 5 years that even your own staff, like you just said, the millennials, the Gen Z, they will actually push you actually to it, and they're making also decisions on it, right? And not only your own staff, but also obviously guests, I think, making decisions on that. And I think our equipment release, there's some fun facts which I was actually looking at. We have about 2,100 solar panels, which generated in 2023 like 2.1 megawatts, which doesn't seem a lot. It's like 2% of the consumption of what is utilized in Atlantis, Dubai. But then to say it's actually equivalent of taking 185 cars off the street, then like that's not bad. It's a good contribution, right? And I think to come out with a message like that, I think it's a good message. You know, same with reducing plastic and creating our own water bottling plant within Atlantis. It's a big commitment as a company to reduce plastic. Right? And I think it's a good message out, even to drive business. I think at the same time.
Well, I mean, absolutely. And the reason I bring it up is one of the best examples is actually Portaventura in Spain, which is the first carbon neutral theme park in the world to get that certification. And they advertise it significantly, and it really does help them. We do have some time now. If there are any questions from the audience for our panelists? Nope. Okay, that's all right. I have more. You're not done yet. Let's see, which one am I going to start with? Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave it up to you. Mike, you can ask a question to either of them. Any question you want.
Okay, a question. I ask these guys questions every single day. How are you going to compete with each other? How are you going to compete with each other? Yeah. What are you going to do to surpass each other?
I think we said it before, but it depends on what market you're going to cater for. I mean, if it's really for the local domestic market, I think, you know, there's enough space for everyone, I think, within the industry.
I think it's really complementing each other. And coming from Aquaventure, one of the things that we've done, I think, well, in our park is cabanas, what we've got designed. We've got 81 cabanas designed, and a lot of what we put into the design was lessons learned from what we did at Atlantis, and even beyond Atlantis, when you go and look at the different variations of cabanas throughout the property there, and then what others are doing, if anything, I wouldn't say it's competition, but it keeps us on our toes, and it's just those best practices that, you know, and I'm sure that once we're up and running, the next big water park that opens, they're going to look at what we've done and take a little bit of this. They're going to go to Atlantis. They're going to take a little bit of that. So healthy competition.
So what you're saying is people come to the Middle East, stop in Dubai, visit Atlantis, come to Saudi Arabia, visit Aquarabia, and we're all happy.
Okay, everybody can dream. They're not going to go to both. But, I mean, there is a differentiating factor. Was there a question back there? Yep.
Here you go.
Classically trained, I should be able to project. So the question was, thinking about building subscription and enhancing the on-site kind of guest experience, how are you guys using kind of the innovation within the digital relationship with your guests? So kind of before, between their visits, how are you using kind of, digital innovation, social media comms to build that relationship, subscription, before, between and beyond their visits, and enhancing their on-site experience too?
apologies because I've had to say this before. To be continued for us.
So, yeah, I think that's. I guess that's the challenge because of in a water park, right? Some people will take their phones with them, right, in order to interact. I think it's more like when we consciously decided to do our aqua band. So we want people to have their phones with them. Obviously, then they have an Instagrammable mission, so people take pictures. So what we did is they normally have your phone pouches. So it was kind of a mission where we said we're just going to sell them to a cost price, although they were the best seller anyway, but you said in order to drive this behavior, because then you have an app, so then at least you can send push notifications through and actually communicate with the guest. Again, I think out of 6,000 people or 5,000 people, if you capture probably 50% because your average group size is 3, then you're already successful. I think that will be the mission of communicating with your guests while they're in the park.
And any kind of interesting ideas around how you begin the experience before their arrival through kind of digital engagement?
Yeah, I mean, there are different channels when it comes to communications through marketing on the website, right? So we launched also on our own Aquaventure World website, where you then look at the different guest journey, who would book something. I mean, we have obviously our own online web bookings, but then you also have your third-party guest journey, right? On how that would work and how you would communicate with them. And then technology-wise, how does that translate? Can they do exactly the same and buy a ticket with add-ons included? Which, again, that's something which is something we work through to provide them the same seamless, provide them the same options as well.
Okay, are you going to be quick? Okay. I hate to say it then, because unfortunately we actually have run out of time. Did you really want to talk, Olivia? Go ahead.
No, I just think sometimes it's the old school sign up here, but you got to commit to it. If a guest signs up and you get their birthday and they make a booking, you've got to commit and you've got to have the resources to keep that relationship going before. You got to commit to that relationship. Because I think once they see before they even arrive how much interaction they're having with you from a digital platform or even the simplicity of emails and stuff, it builds up that anticipation and they're more likely to continue that digital experience with you as you progress throughout the day. But then you got to keep the relationship after. And it's not just a feedback survey, it's remembering their visit and going in, I'm going to end on this, with permission, going in on their profile and reminding them, hey, a year ago you were visiting the dolphins. Well, guess what? We have a new dolphin. Come back. So it's really a commitment from us. But if you've got that commitment and the resources, it's endless.
I'm actually going to add to that because I think it's a really good point. It's not just about setting up a Facebook page or whatever. It's about committing the resources, and that means human resources to actually keep up on this. And although people might be tempted to say, oh, AI is here now, we can follow up on all that stuff, AI can also make mistakes, and it's only as good as the information that's put in there. So if we're going to do it, then you have to be willing to put the money and the human capital into maintaining the program. But along those lines, I do actually have to finish up this session because we are now running a little bit over. Thank you, Mike, Olivia, and Sasha very much. It was a great session. Our next, sure, if you want to, if you have any additional questions, they'd be more than happy to speak with you down there. And our next session is going to start in the next 2 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone.